We're going back to 2004 to talk about a small film about a small town and its unique inhabitants, including its title character, Napoleon Dynamite. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast, the warm blanket you cover yourself in when you want a fix of music and movie. What's so funny, Nick?
The cuddly little blanket.
What is so funny? Tell me, what's so fucking funny about me?
Wait a minute. Wrong film.
Wrong sorry.
That's all right.
Whoops.
We did enough Scorsese, I think.
Oh, Tommy.
This could have been a great Scorsese movie. Same script, directed by Scorsese. Imagine.
What, Napoleon Dynamite?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oddly enough, a Scorsese film came out the same year as Napoleon Dynamite. Anybody want to take a crack at what film came out the same year?
Gangs of New York?
2004?
No.
Departed.
Yeah. Nope.
Oh, Aviator. No, maybe.
Aviator.
Oh, what's Aviator?
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so Nick, unfortunately, he was busy making his own film. So
there you go.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on each week, our weekly excursion through the minefield of music and movies that Eric and I deem worthy. Right, Eric?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
What we deem worthy.
Uh-huh. In
It's
our
a high
collective past. Yeah.
It's a high bar. No, it's not really a high bar. It's not a high bar. We're just really short people. So it seems like the bar is high, but it's actually pretty low. Okay. And this week we're talking about Napoleon Dynamite. We've got our usual cast of characters in addition, of course, always to Eric, of course, with the Rush shirt on.
Oh, yeah. Hemispheres. Yeah.
Hemispheres.
Favorite album. Yep.
Woohoo. We've got in the center square, we've got Mr. Sean Grady, founder of
happy to be here.
Drama from the Past. Are you the founder? Cool.
Co-founder. Yeah.
Co-founder. We will drop a link to that in the show notes. That is great historical reenactments from the Revolutionary War era in the downstate New York area. They've got something coming up, but it'll have passed by the time this episode comes out. So you'll have to check them out on Facebook for more upcoming endeavors. We've got Christy Cuomo there joining us again. Welcome aboard, Christy.
Hello.
Sean's got his what is that, iced tea in that mug? In that
always that green tea with lemon, baby.
Green tea with lemon in the 3324 podcast pint glass. Put what you want into it. It will hold adult beverages as well. Welcome aboard, Christy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And of course, founder of the blog, The City of Kick, which we will drop a link for as well, Mr. Nick Leshy. How are you doing, sir?
I am great.
Good.
I am excellent.
You look great. You look marvelous.
Thank you.
Look at this guy. Oh, man. He's dressed to the nines tonight.
I didn't have any Napoleon Dynamite shirts, no vote for Pedro, nothing. I'm so embarrassed that I didn't have anything.
You don't have a gaudy brown jacket, no?
Nick, if you put
nothing
a t-shirt
from like the
on,
70s that was hanging around in your
Nick, if you put a t-shirt on, you can look like Pedro at the dance, like Don Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah.
You could have done it. You could have done it.
I could have.
Quick,
grown out my mustache.
A tiny bit more effort. You could have done it.
Come on, Nick.
But
Lon Chaney. He's the man of many faces.
Yes, he could have done it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Maybe Nick will mount a stage version of Napoleon Dynamite.
That would actually be very fun.
I'm surprised it hasn't already happened. Yeah.
I thought it did. I thought there was an off-Broadway thing. No, are you sure?
Was there
a music? Was there a musical?
I know there was. I know they did
a cartoon. I don't know about the stage play.
Okay.
Was there a Napoleon?
There was like a musical or something. Oh, I don't know.
This is the kind of movie though. Like you can't do a stage version without it just being like a mimic. You know,
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It would be just like an impersonation of the performances in the show, and it's already a campy movie, so I don't know.
There's just too much going on. I think
unless it was a musical
in very subtle ways.
It would have to be a musical.
I could see it.
That's what I thought it was.
If it would make a fun musical, it absolutely would. Uncle Rico could have like his song about wanting to go back in time, and there's a lot. There's some stuff there that could extend the the thing with the hands, that group, they could have their own whole number as well too. So,
Happy Hands Club.
Happy Hands Club could have a whole centerpiece. So no, it's surprised it never did. It would be definitely, this was a niche movie, so it would definitely be a niche musical. It's not, like Spider-Man, where they're, something that's, pretty really a big property that they could adapt and everybody would know. People are like, what the hell is Napoleon Dynamite? Because this movie only had a $400,000 budget. Released in June of 2004, directed by Jared Hess and written by Jared and his brother Jerusha Hess. $400,000 budget and a $46 million box office.
Yeah,
$46 million is not a lot of money, but on a $400,000 budget,
that's a nice return. Yeah,
it's a great massive return on investment for this film crew invading a town in Idaho for 23 days, sleeping at the residents' houses and staying there to film this movie and really not spend a lot of money on it. Amazing film that just kind of it is. Eric, we did cult classics, and this didn't even come. Did this even come up when we did our top?
I'm pretty sure it
classic.
I'm pretty sure.
You think?
I think it was
it?
worth it. I think it was. It was most likely an honorable mention.
Yeah,
could have been.
If not,
I'm sure we had to have brought it up. There's no doubt that this did not.
If it wasn't, it's a modern day cult classic. It was
back
one of
and
those
listen to the episode and find out. That would be.
I don't know what episode number it is, so I can't refer anybody. But it is the top 5 cult films with our friend Andrew Kamines. But this is like a modern day cult film. It really, one of those films that kind of. And I think the thing about this film is that even though in the credit, like when this film was first conceived or released, there was no opening credits, and the MTV which was one of the backers of the film, or somebody was kind of like, we need something. It's kind of off-putting where this movie starts and you don't know much about it. So they actually, came up with, they did those opening credits with the different food, but there's a Napoleon Dynamite school ID is there, and it specifically says 2004, and they did that specifically to place the movie, because otherwise you're not really sure. Does it take place in a Twilight Zone-y town where time, it almost, even though it takes place in 2004, is it in a town where time has stood still, or is it just Napoleon's house and relatives that have stood still?
No, it's everyone. It's like Matt.
It's everyone.
I think it's the whole town. Yeah, sure.
It's the whole town.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a town that,
Which I'm sure there's places in America that are like that.
Well, it's like
very much are, right?
You go back,
but it wasn't. They weren't approaching it from, these are hillbillies or hicks.
No,
it was just like, this town seems to like. From the beginning, when Napoleon's waiting for the bus, he's holding a trapper keeper.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's squarely from that's like from Eric and I. That was like from thing.
I had one, right?
And so it's kind of off-putting, and the way he's dressing. So you're kind of still not even sure.
And he's got the corded phone on the wall still. Yep.
Yeah,
those things. They were gone by the 90s.
The panel. I want to live in that house. By the way, I love that house. the sunken living room and the raised kitchen and all the paneling,
the plush carpeting and the wood paneling. That's
whoever did the production design really had an eye for it. Like, they kind of were going for a specific feel, and I think they achieved it. I think I think it appeals to older viewers because of that retro feel to it. It's not pandering to them. It's not like they're throwing around 70s slang and talking like that. It's just certain aspects seem frozen in time.
So they were going for the smell of mold and mildew.
Then they achieved it. They achieved that basement
the brown and orange color scheme. You know.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Even down to the kitchen had that same 70s refrigerator.
A lot of green, a lot of yellow. Yeah. In the kitchen. Yeah.
It's just
lime green like refrigerator, and
the avocado green was big back then.
Yeah.
Let's roll through the cast, because there's not a lot of big names in this, and there wasn't a lot of parlaying after this either as well. But I think we need to recognize this cast because they did such a really good job with such interesting. This is one of those kind of movies that, if these actors are not taking it seriously, then we've talked about that where it would cross into camp. And because these characters are invested in what they're doing and taking serious the situations they find themselves in or the way the characters are, they sell it. I think that's probably the appeal of this film. It's not cult because they're camping it up and it's so over the top. It's camp because it's cult because it's got a lot of heart to it. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody disagree?
I no, absolutely not. It's a sweet, sweet film. My kids love it. They absolutely adore it, and that speaks to the timelessness of it. Generationally, it's it said something to everyone. So
yeah,
I rented it Blockbuster. I think it was like when it was just about on its way out. I think at that point we still had a Blockbuster in Tampa.
Very apropos.
Somebody recommended. I forget who. It might have been Andy that recommended it. So we did, and the kids just like Zach was only 10 when he saw it, and it was like his favorite movie. Yeah. So
for anybody that wasn't such a jock in high school, I think you can relate. Yeah. I think if you weren't a jock in high school, you can kind of relate to many aspects of this.
Mm-hmm. Did any of you see it in the theater?
What's that? I did not.
Did any of you see it in the theater?
No, it kind of came in. Even at $46 million, it was still a sleeper. It made a lot of money for what, but it was up against. I was Collateral came out that year, so I was seeing Collateral by Michael Mann. I was all chips in on that.
Yeah,
but were you guys aware of it? Like, were any of you even aware of it when it came out in the theater?
No, not theatrically.
That's a cult classic right there.
I had never heard of it. Like I said, somebody recommended it to me, and then
I think I had heard of it as a title, but not knowing what it was.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because of Suncoast. Because of Suncoast, you were still at Suncoast, so you must have heard of it. 2004, yeah.
Just on the way out, 2004, on the way out of the Suncoast career, but it was one of those ones, that you kind of heard of this title, only because the title is so unique as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't tell you anything about what it is. Like Napoleon Dynamite is like.
Is it a historical? What is that?
Yeah, although Elvis Costello had a little bone to pick because he claims he created a character, or one of his songs has a character named Napoleon Dynamite in it, and Jared Hess said that he didn't find out till the day before they were done shooting that existed. And Elvis Costello was like, how could somebody not, those two words have never been put
how
together
convenient.
Before. So how could you not know? But, who knows?
Mm-hmm. I believe it was
leading into, what's that?
No, I believe it was one of the extras, young extras said, hey, did you know there's a Elvis Costello reference to Napoleon Dynamite? And he was like, oh. Oops. So he claims he didn't know that the extra told.
Very interesting. So we've got John Hader as Napoleon Dynamite, Efren Ramirez as Pedro Sanchez. He has an identical twin brother, Carlos. Tina Majorino as Deb. Tina Majorino was a bit of a star before this. She was in Waterworld. She was in Karina as a child star, and then she kind of disappeared for a little bit, and then kind of reemerged, in more teen and young adult roles. Aaron Rule as Kipland Ronald Kip Dynamite. Again, not a big actor per se, but Kip is just great.
He's great.
He's just Napoleon.
Yeah.
John Grise as Rico, Uncle Rico. On Wikipedia, they have him listed as Rico Dynamite. I just like him as Uncle Rico.
Yeah. That sounds kind of
odd. People will know him from another cult film. He was Laszlo in Real Genius with Val Kilmer. He was always Laszlo was like the original genius, and he was in the basement throughout the whole movie. Would come up sporadically. So he was kind of as Laszlo. That was his other cult film, but really great as Uncle Rico. Haley Duff, who is Hilary Duff's sister, as Summer Wheatley. Emily Kennard as Trish Stevens. Chandrella Avery as LaFonda, who is great in this film. Uh, she doesn't say much. She just does. She does a lot of just emotive acting. Diedrich Bader, who is a comedic actor, he's been in a lot of films. He is Rex from Rex Kwon Do. And then I want to go with Trevor Snar as Don.
Yeah.
And Don is I think Don was probably told to overact on purpose, because the first time I saw Napoleon Dynamite, I'm like, this guy's the next Bruce Campbell, because he was overacting in such a way that was so, like, his was very hammy, but I think it was meant to be that way. Like Don was just, like especially at the end when when Summer made her pitch to be president. And then the happy hands came out, and like Don was like the only one that was like standing and clapping. He's kind of like puffing out his shirt, and he's like just acting very strange. But for that character, it was kind of funny, And
yeah,
and then the scene when Summer's giving out the badge, the buttons, and Don, it goes up to Napoleon, is like, "Hey, vote for Summer." I'm not voting for Summer. Like, who are you voting for? Vote for Pedro. And then he takes the button away. He's like, Don. He was like, Don, and he kind of the button, and he throws it and just like runs away. Like those kind of like one-off scenes like that are just it's gold. It's gold, and it's just so. Like Eric said, just it's heartwarming. It's just like, I really just love this film just for its honesty, and it's just kind of I'm doesn't make any excuses except for the racist principal, who was just an awful.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say that when you ask for best, favorite scene, this is going to be a movie that's going to be really, really tough, because I think the thing of it is like there's just so much subtle humor in this, like facial expressions, just voices. You can't really pick a scene that totally except for the dancing scene, which is the big finale. But it's like I can't imagine any other scene that really stands out. It's just the humor of this thing just gets you, and you don't get it all at once. You have to watch it several times. You get something fresh every time.
There's a lot of small moments. That's what it is. It's not big monologue scenes, right? It's small moments. And to the dance scene, they actually had one roll of film left, which was about 10 minutes worth of footage. And they're like, we need the dance scene. And John Heder, everybody thought that he was a good dancer. He didn't think he was, but there was like, oh, he's such a great dancer. He kind of came up with the routine himself, and they were able to shoot enough to piece it together with that last roll of film, which was like the climax. And he had to sell like, a movie that usually the dance, like they had the dance, usually at these types of movies, the dance is the last scene. And the boy and girl get together. The dance was actually in the middle of the film, Sean.
Yeah.
I love the dance scene. I will preface my comment with that. But when I watch it again, there's times where I feel like he's a little too good. Napoleon, I know he rehearsed, but
he rehearsed a lot. He was sweating, dripping sweat.
And not a drop of sweat at the performance.
Oh, you're talking about that he danced? You mean that he danced a little too good?
I was seeing a little John Heder. I took me out of Napoleon for a couple times. I loved it. I love his scene. I think it's appropriate. But there are a couple of moves when he's kind of like, I'm like, that's a little.
That's why it works. That's why it works.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like you're not expecting him to make some of those moves, even though he's been rehearsing so much.
He was using Dequan's videotape on how to dancing that he got at Goodwill.
Sean, next time. In his defense, when he's doing the what's it called, helping hands?
Yes.
Yeah. In the beginning,
there is a couple of the.
You can see his moves, and he's very fluid. So it prepares you that Napoleon.
Good point.
It's that lankiness too.
I love it. I think I think there's a lot of Napoleon, and then a couple of Heder comes out. Like, but I get it. You are the character. The characters. But no sweat at the performance. He was sweating bullets when he was practicing, and not a drop of sweat after the performance.
Maybe it was like David Letterman's.
That's because he had to remain really cool. It was. You know what? That was a turning point, because Pedro first of all decided that he after what had happened with the piñata. And you can't make a piñata of a person, and then he decides, well, I'm just going to go up there. I'm not going to say anything. So it was kind of like,
all right.
And then they didn't know they needed. They didn't know they needed a skit as well. So that was a great scene though, because Napoleon kind of like, he had the tape with him. It wasn't planned, and he decided, you finally got to see him
He
step
had his
up.
back. He took his. He had his
he
back.
did, and he said that.
That was a big thing.
I think he asked Pedro in the beginning, "Do you have my back?" Or are we friends now? Or we're just that great thing. And then he kind of just unhooks the Walkman, goes over, like has an idea, and it's like it's the perfect. He didn't punch anybody. He didn't beat up the bad guy.
Well, I think
he won just by getting out of his comfort zone.
Yeah. Just to Sean's point real quick, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, well, maybe it's because, he's practicing with that crappy VHS tape that he got. And that's why he's sweating, because that tape sucks. Obviously it's probably, and he's in that little room in that stuffy house, but it was the mixtape that she gives him, Sharonda gives him, that puts that puts it over the top, I think. It was that tape that really got him, and when he put that on, I think that was like he was in the zone, and so the things just clicked into place, I think. So there's a little bit of
he was in the mood. I
guess you got to get a little bit of fantasy going on there or something. I don't know, but it's just it just worked.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a nitpick. I agree. It's a nitpick.
It's
I love the scene.
It's a valid nitpick.
I love it.
It is a valid nitpick.
It's a nitpick. Yeah,
He should have been sweating.
A little bit. Not sweating bullets. Not sweating bullets. Give me a little perspiration.
But it was one take. That's the thing, right? Wasn't it one? It was one take.
Cool, man. That dance is cool.
Like, he's not.
And then there's like the silence.
Right. Sean made the point. The dance is cool, but he's not cool.
He's not cool.
Right. Because he still wasn't.
I get
the
it.
music ended abruptly, and he like awkwardly
takes
and then ran off.
Yeah. Because he's back being Napoleon.
Yeah, so he became self-aware again, right? It's like he became so like unself-aware that he was able to kind of just do that. And that was just such a great thing, right, Nick? When everyone just goes nuts.
That was it. The cheering at the end, like, because he's done and everybody's just staring. You're like, oh, But then the applause, the eruption. It was great.
Yeah,
great.
Because movies back in the 2000s could have gone the other way, where the guy still lost. Like those kind of those movies. The loser still loses.
Mm-hmm. That's a moment where I wish I was in the theater, because I think I probably would have been compelled to be like, probably cheer for him. I would have loved to have seen what the theater was like when that happened.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's good stuff, and it's kind of a movie about. I took away of like kind of finding your tribe. Because there was all those cliques, and Napoleon was kind of by himself, and then kind of Deb shows up at his door. Selling glamour shots, and then he takes that photo and says to Pedro, "This is my girlfriend." He's such a pathological liar. It's like from the beginning, like, what'd you do over the summer? Oh, I was in Alaska killing wolverines. What do you think? Every story is so fit. What's that?
I actually wrote down that Napoleon's a pathological liar. Like,
but I don't think he's a pathological liar. I think he's
got a fantasy world going on.
He's living in his own
like it's kind
reality.
of Walter Mitty-ish, like
even his history lesson, like the presentation he gave for his history class, right? Didn't
Loch
he
Ness.
embellish the Loch Ness?
Yeah,
it's about the Loch Ness monster, and the people of around gathered to cast a protective spell over Ness. I think, and I think like kind of Deb kind of is that awkward person as well. There was that awkwardness, and then Pedro shows up, and like another kind of awkward person, and then they kind of form their own little group where they can kind of be weird. They're all awkward with each other.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of every pot has a lid, right? Kip finds his soulmate. Deb and Napoleon fall in love. Pedro and Napoleon are BFFs. So I took that away from it. It's like they live in this little weird universe, but they're all happy. So
and almost for Pedro, I guess becoming president, because at the end it's like got the cake El Presidente, and kind of the family is all around him, and they're so proud of him. Like there was that, like his kind of story was that about, he just decided to run for president.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also a lot what's going on too is for, even with Napoleon is the fact that he's looking for something that he's good at too, which plays a big role. Because he says there's that whole big scene with him saying, "I have no skills. What do I do?" Kind of thing. And each person finds their little hidden talent that they always had, but they didn't realize it.
Well, at first though, when Pedro came though, he said that a lot of gangs were recruiting him for his bow skills.
Right.
And then afterwards, then he's sitting down and he's lamenting that he doesn't have any skills, and
right.
And Pedro dispenses just very very pointed pieces of philosophies. First, if maybe if you draw a picture, and then he draws a picture, and kind of gives it to her. Like this, it's very simple, just very simple stuff, Nick.
Yeah, and the skills thing is what point, because he's talking about nunchucks and all this stuff, and he loves drawing, but I don't think he takes it to heart that he's a good drawer. But then you could see that picture, as awful as it was of Trish, that he spent hours. You believe he spent hours working on that shading
the upper lip.
Yeah, that's when you feel bad. You feel sorry for him. He just because he does it with such passion and heart.
Exactly.
Like he's just in his own way.
Uncle Rico torpedoed him. So we got to talk a little bit about Uncle Rico.
Of course.
Uncle Rico's appearance.
Wait, because to what Eric just said, I don't feel bad for Napoleon, because Napoleon, he's smart. He's like, even when the time machine, he's like, that would never work. I mean, he tries it, but he's like, that would, or he'll point out, like,
he gives it hope, like he thinks it might work.
he'll point out, like,
you can't not try it.
Yeah.
He'll point out certain things, like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like that's like he'll say to stories that are absolutely ridiculous, even though he's a pathological liar himself. But he's not stupid. I never feel bad for him, because I think he's happy. Like, he has this weird confidence to him. He really does. Like this bizarre level of confidence that us looking
in
at
his
him,
own world. Yeah, like in his own world, he's the king. Yeah, he's like the king of his own world.
Mm-hmm.
So they Kip and Napoleon live with their grandmother. So we don't know what happened to the parents. There's an aunt somewhere as well. And then the grandmother's like, Lyle's going to come. We're right out of steaks, and Lyle's going to come tomorrow and take care of that. And he shoots the cow across the street in front of the school bus with all the kids.
Yeah. They all scream,
and then it cuts to like Uncle Rico eating a steak. Like that's all they do is eat. They either eat steak or nachos and drink Gatorade.
That's an quesadilla. That's just more towards Mexico.
Make a dang quesadilla. Napoleon.
The shooting of the cow is. I read that was an antidote. Like, that actually happened to Jared. When he was like he said that was like something that legitimately happened, so he put it in there.
I don't doubt it.
I could see this all being like semi-autobiographical.
He said several things about this film were based on stuff that he, grew up with and stuff. I think he had like 6 other brothers or something, and they all had like all these kind of like weird experiences like that.
It's just one. Yeah. It's a gathering of experiences, Nick.
Yeah.
This started out as a short film, I think. I could just kind of see it as a bunch of friends just making a movie with all their in-jokes and all the stuff. It's like, who cares if people like it or not? We think it's funny. And it ends up being funny. You could see the genuineness of it, and you could see that it has heart, Yeah,
you could tell that this is not someone's interpretation of how these people are. Right, John?
Yeah. The film was called Palooka. Has anybody ever taken it? It's on YouTube. Anybody take a look at it?
No, I read about it.
It's pretty short too, right? It's even a short film. It's short.
It starts the same. It's basically, the character's called Seth, but it's John Heder, and he's Napoleon, and he's got 2 friends, and a couple of the scenes are exactly the same, and they kind of just built a larger movie off this 9-minute short. Changed his name to Napoleon. It opens the same way at the bus stop. What's weird is they're on bus with younger kids, but I guess because it's small town Idaho, that I guess
they probably pick them all up.
Everybody goes, and he throws the kid asks him, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "River feeling." He looks off to the side, and he throws the figure out the window, and then that's how it starts. Same exact way.
So Sean, in that film, is Napoleon is John Hader's acting similar to in the feature film? because one of the things that I don't know the answer to it, but I'm curious because it's genius. Were the creative decisions by each of these actors, was it theirs or the directors? Because some of these choices that they make as actors, I'm like, I don't know where they came up with it. Like, especially with Napoleon, like his and Kip. I mean, you take both of them, like the way Napoleon runs away from things. He has his eyes closed when he's talking to people half the time.
Yes.
I'm like,
He never smiles. He never smile. I was watching the second time. I'm like, does this guy ever smile? Napoleon,
So,
I
yeah,
don't
like,
think ever smiles.
were these their choices, the director, or was it a collaboration?
I think because I watched the documentary on like a making of it, like, and it was on YouTube. I was YouTubing a lot, and a lot of there's input from the actors, and the director would be like, I want you to do, like, we know Napoleon's getting beat up with the headlock, and he's telling him, all right, you're going to put him in the headlock, you're going to pull him down, maybe push him up one more time. But he doesn't really tell John Heder what to do. John Heder kind of has the character down. And you know what I love about that headlock? He never lets go of the trapper keeper. He's got the trapper keeper. He never lets, like, he doesn't try to get the guy. He's just like waiting for it to end and waiting for it to end. So the director
just like the other kid.
I think he directed like the Outsider guys, but he said a lot of times, like, Uncle Rico's like thought it would be a good idea to, while Kip was cutting the steak, he grabbed the steak, the one that he was cutting, and threw it in Napoleon's head. So I think a lot of it came from the actors, and the side characters came from the director, from what I saw in the documentary.
And then when he gets bullied and beaten up, but then he comes to the rescue of the other kid later. But it's all to kind of get him to kind of vote for Pedro, right? It's like,
they're buying votes.
You know?
Yeah, Pedro offers you his protection.
By the way,
and it gives him the keychain, and it's like, you just bought your vote. So he's going to tell all the nerd kids.
The most gentlest of gangbangers ever. It's just a look. They like shake their head.
Yeah.
Nope.
When they're trying to take the kid's bike, and that's so. Then there's no gun. They don't need violence. They're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's all it took, was shaking the head. So on the outskirts of town, in a van with a video camera and a bunch of footballs, is Uncle Rico, just waiting on the outskirts of town, I guess, for something to happen in his life. And he gets the call that Napoleon's grandmother got hurt. So Uncle Rico comes, and that's where he arrives and immediately disrupts Napoleon's life. Like, is the guy that throws the wrench in everything. Tells Trish's mother, who he asks Trish to the dance. He basically kind of makes him like that he's a dummy. Oh, he still wets the bed, and kind of playing that he's just not a smart guy. But Uncle Rico is doing it just to make a sale. Like, his thing is he's just trying to say anything to make a sale to these people. Sean
got him the date though. The mother made the daughter take.
Yeah, but out of pity, it's like, you're going to go with that.
But it got him the date. Napoleon doesn't know that, right? He doesn't. He thinks it was the picture. He thought,
was it really a date? She like left him immediately.
No, but at least he got to walk in with somebody. I mean, better than, I guess. Yeah. Well, yeah, he got a bad.
No, he must have found out about it because. Oh no! After the Deb thing, right? Because then Uncle Rico gets.
He torpedoed the Deb
Kip
thing.
in as a business partner selling Tupperware. And there's a great scene when Uncle Rico is selling the Tupperware to the couple, and he's like,
yes,
if you buy the 24 piece, you get the boat. And she's like, I want that boat. Yes. She was all like turned on and like excited. I want that boat. And then Uncle Rico gives the guy the Tupperware. He's like, see if you can rip that. And he kind of like tightens his sleeves a little bit, and he's like, no.
I can't do it.
And then he backs up. He tries to test it by running it over.
Yeah, and Kip is doing the strength test, and that was unplanned. He was supposed to. The van was supposed to go over it, but the van actually crushed that Tupperware, and he just kept on with it. So they left that in there.
Stayed in character.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
But even to that small character, the couple with the pirate ship and the Tupperware, like, even those choices, like the guy who's, it's just so much
good.
Little subtleties where he's just like, and then he's like,
can't do it.
Oops, can't do it. And like that defeat, that absolute defeat that he can't break the Tupperware, and he looks like he's really trying, and just
like he let down his wife, like she was like
down.
looking at him like, oh, you couldn't do it, like
just even those choices,
so strange,
it's a very well acted film. It really is.
Because it's these little weird, strange, like Eric said, it's not these big scenes. It's these little weird, strange occurrences, these little small moments in this film that make it. This is not like I said, about the big scenes. It's about these smaller moments between these characters. And then when Uncle Rico comes in and he's like, oh, look at the video. And he's playing the video of him throwing the football. Like Eric said, that's when Napoleon's like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And Kip's like, Napoleon, how can anybody ever know that? Like how can anybody ever know that? It's like, it's like Napoleon is dealing with his own level of like fools that he can't tolerate, because and then Uncle Rico's like, you can leave then. You can get out of here.
But even when Uncle Rico
so great,
puts his hand down and it's on Kip's leg for a second.
And then it's like uncomfortable.
Awkwardness between the two of them.
And I wrote that down, because Uncle Rico kind of gets a little strange, or they put him in weird situations, but I think it's supposed to be innocent. I think he's supposed to be unaware that he's being inappropriate. So he goes
he's unaware.
Like he first has a photo session with Deb, and then he goes back to sell the breast enhancers. Right. And he's like, oh, I have something for you. And he starts like undoing his vest. And like, oh crap. Okay. Now this movie's taking a turn and it's going to be like this weird thing. And she's like, Mr. Rico. And he like pulls out the brochure, and then he sees like Trish and Summer on the street and like pulls over and it comes off as creepy. And then he was probably having sex with that old lady, right? When he went to go drop off the Tupperware when he was supposed to take Napoleon to the dance. And he's like, I'll be out in a minute. And he goes, don't bother me.
Yeah, I
close the deal, Sean.
I think he's unaware, because if we take to heart that this is 2004 and he's living in 1982, he has no awareness. Like he just has no clue of what's appropriate or not. He still thinks that if they put him in the fourth corner, they would have won and he'd be living in a mansion right now.
I don't know. I feel bad. I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes.
More than I feel bad for Napoleon, to be honest.
I do, because he keeps lamenting going back in time and what would have happened and what would have been different.
Yeah, I love his character. I think that's one of my favorite characters in the movie. And I think it's part of that. You could totally relate to him, like this guy who had his moment, like the Al Bundy, like reliving that football thing. Like if I was only in there, but it's hilarious. Every choice, like Christy said, is just, you wonder how much was in the script. I would love to read the actual original script and see how much was improv and how much was just, a couple of takes. Let's see what's funny, what works, or if it was all in the script,
But Nick, I don't get the impression he ever was put in the game. Like he's like, if he
wasn't. He says, I wish you would have put him in. Yeah.
Well, he's looking back fondly on a time and wishing something. Like even when he's like, I could throw the football. What do you say, a mile?
I could throw it over this mountain. Well, he said I could throw this mountain, but I could throw this over the mountain.
And he throws and knocks over the camera.
Oh yeah, his throwing arm is not the best, but it's accurate, because when he throws that steak, he hits Napoleon like right in the face with it. So he's got a weird throwing style. Like his throwing style is very not coordinated, but it seems to be pretty accurate.
No, it's you watch the video and the way he throws it, and then he
throws it like kind of sidearmish. It seems like they asked him to throw it with his other hand. You know how when you try to throw it with your non-dominant hand and you can't, and it looks weird. Yeah. It looks like that's what they were asking him to do, because it was just so like that kind of thing, like where it's awkward and you don't know what you're doing. But but Napoleon gets his revenge on him though, because he throws the orange at the van with Uncle Rico after he finds out that he gave Deb. After he finds out he gave Deb the breast enhancement thing, and Uncle Rico's like, oh, like he stops the van and he's like trying to get it out of gear, and then they tackles him, and it's such a you're ruining my life.
Yeah,
Grandma called. She said you have to leave.
Said you have to leave now.
Well, I love how they keep it, this situation, to keep it contained in the family, right? It's not, you don't see a whole lot of people in the town, like, involved in any of these antics or shenanigans, which is, Christy's point. It's like, if they had tried to play it straight, it wouldn't have worked. I mean, it's the whole point is to make you feel a little like the whole movie's just off. Like you don't know where you are, what time frame you're in. And that's what I think adds to the whole flavor of the thing. It's like, Uncle Rico is most especially, because he does come off like a creep, and I just think that's the humor in that. That's the funny point, because and for people who don't get that, I think I feel sorry for you because because that's the whole point of this situation is that they they're all unaware. They don't. They're all living in some kind of weird place, which I think is great. So,
well, it's kind of like the two milk scenes.
Yeah.
The first one.
I'm sorry. I'm Christy. I'm only laughing because I can't stand. This is one of my things. It's like I can't stand watching people eat or eat cereal or drink milk. It grosses me out. It so watching this movie is especially the scene where they're on the farm. Oh my god!
This one got into
He's
an onion
testing
patch.
different.
But the first one, I watched it with subtitles because I had no idea. Like now I know what that guy says about
Lyle?
over there. I had
Yeah.
no idea what he said the first time around. I had no idea, and just it really makes you aware of how poorly chickens are treated. But the flies on the
Oh my
food
God.
that they eat, the sandwiches,
on the sandwiches, and then
they're
that
drinking
big
the
tub. It looks like orange juice. It's eggs.
oh, and the two guys drink it, but when Napoleon drinks, like oh,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
raw eggs. Like it looked like OJ.
and then the
It looked
other
like
one
orange juice.
where they get their jackets because Napoleon can smell an onion patch or something, the defects in the milk, and then Pedro is like, well, this one because it has a fifth nipple is not a good, and they're so proud of it. Like this is not
That's their
something
skills.
these are their
Found some
skills.
skills, right?
But going back to what we're talking about, it's like these people live in this world that we just, and they're all in.
No.
They're all
Yes.
in.
And
100%.
That's their life.
And they only did that to see if to prove that they can do something, right? To prove to everybody else that they have a skill at something, and nobody cares.
Nobody
about
cared. No.
Milk. They're like the sommelier of milk. Like they got these these wonderful palates, like wine. Like they can tell
tastes like a
vintage
cow
of
got
wine
an
or
onion
whatever.
patch.
And he's making like $1 an hour. He was out there for
Yeah.
6 hours.
Oh, I have to. I don't have my checkbook. I have to pay in change. God, it's like $1 an hour. It's like old nickels and coins. Like
Nothing. In 2004, who's happy about making $120 for the day or 75? The guy made 75.
That's not bad for what they were doing. They were not. They're going door to door. That's not bad.
They live
Probably for
They
door
live
to
in
door.
Idaho. I don't know if the cost of living.
Door to door
is-
and
Right.
selling Tupperware. That's not bad.
Again, speaking to the whole weird place that they're in, the timelessness of it, the sort of Twilight Zone, Forbidden Zone,
They
whatever
have
you
a
want to call
llama
it. But
that they have to feed.
yeah, they got a llama. What's that about?
Yeah.
Tina.
He's so
Go
rude
eat some
to that.
ham.
He's like throwing the food on the
Fat
floor.
lard?
Go get some ham.
Eat
Fat
food.
lard.
The way the llama side eyes him, like the llama
Yeah.
looks at him like
I think they have an adversarial relationship because at the end, the llama's when grandma comes home, the llama's like licking and kissing grandma, loves
Thank you.
loves
Beth.
grandma, but
And nobody
The
seems to
the
like
adversarial.
Napoleon, right? The uncle doesn't like him. The llama doesn't like him. His brother, everybody's just kind of
I
got a thing for
disagree with you.
Napoleon.
I think him and Kip, they have this, and he does smile. He actually does smile, Sean. When Kip is getting on the bus with LaFonda, he looks, it's very subtle. Like he looks like
very
it's
slight, very slight.
very,
Very
and,
slight.
like,
The soulmate.
No, you're right. I
and
do.
he's happy.
Okay.
He believes that he
He's
found a
happy.
soulmate.
And
right?
happy
that's
for
what
him.
made me think: does he ever smile? I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm like,
happy for him.
that's the closest thing I've seen. Yeah,
They have this odd relationship. Like even when Napoleon calls from school when he has to leave because he's suspicious of the nurse, just to take the phone around the corner, and then he's
feel
like,
good.
but initially he's like Kip, he's like, what's wrong? And then once he finds out, he just doesn't feel good. He's like, I'm busy because he got back to his nachos. But there's a little sincerity in it. I think they care about each other. Even when he rips off his mole, he's like, let me look. They.
Yeah.
I think they respect each other in this weird universe that they're living in.
For the nacho scene, you actually have to go back and watch the plate of nachos because the amount of cheese changes.
Oh, really?
It starts off really low, it gets medium, and then in the last scene, it's actually a pile of shredded cheese that they're just just messing with you. It's just a continuity thing. I think they did it on purpose. They just kind of
Well, they
messed
did it
with
on
you.
purpose.
Was that,
That's so
was
obvious,
that
right?
an homage to Scorsese?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
How many
I don't know what
takes
it
did it take to do that nacho scene?
And just Sean, before I get to you, and one other thing I noticed is the first day when they're in the cafeteria with Pedro and Napoleon, they're eating corn dogs, right? The next time they're in the cafeteria, they're eating a hot dog with corn on the side. I don't know if that means anything. They're eating corn dogs.
It means they're in Idaho.
Both days. So it's corn. It's hot dog. They're both days are eating hot dogs. One is a corn dog, and then one is a hot dog with.
You're right, Christy. I think there's the answer right there. They're in
What's
Idaho.
that? What was the answer?
They're in Idaho.
They're in Idaho.
Oh, okay. Sean?
But then again, Idaho, I think, is known for their potatoes, though. So there's where the tot.
I'm sure there's a lot of corn.
Tater tots.
There's where the tater tots come in. Yeah. Give me some tots.
Give me one of your tots.
Ugh.
From his pocket. That's
Out of your linty pocket. Sure.
Yeah. And he kicks it. He kicks his leg and crushed all the tots.
I love I don't know if you noticed the photos in the back, very 80s like where it's your face, but then your profile off to the side, and they're both pictures of them, like currently.
Yeah, those awkward family photos.
And then there's one of them together, like they're kind of, and it's current photos, not like when they were young. Like those were taken earlier in the year, and those I remember those.
Sears
80s.
Photos, John.
Yeah,
they're definitely setting like a tone for that, and I think like Eric said, that it kind of keeps you off balance because you're really not sure. Because otherwise, they don't act like they're in that time, but they're in that time. And then Kip is on this old computer, right? And the dial-up, and he's in a chat room. Even in 2004, he's in a chat room, and
go like 3-4 hours.
Yeah. And then Uncle Rico's like, you know a lot about cyberspace, don't you? He's like, yeah. And he's like, what do you know about time travel? Like, forget it. I already tried. like forget it. I already, he's like,
get in line.
Like those two keep having like the time travel conversation actually keeps coming up between those two.
Yes.
Because when they're in like when they're drinking the shakes, also he said it again. He goes, if there's a way to go back, if I could just go back, and go,
it's heartbreaking.
It almost kind of sets it up though, doesn't it? Because you think it's going to turn into like a Back to the Future kind of thing, where they actually do go back in time. Because anything's possible in this movie. It's like you wouldn't be surprised if they went there. Like it's kind of, what are they really doing this? But
instead of the marriage ending, it's like Uncle Rico, his time machine works, and poof, he goes. You don't know where he goes, but like he made it.
Well, that scene is funny too. When Napoleon tries the time machine, and oh wait, we got to put the crystals in, and then like he plugs it in, he's getting electrocuted, and he's telling Kip to stop, and Kip is like facetiously like looking.
He's sadistic. That's what he's. And then he's like. He smiles.
Like, oh, it doesn't work. And then like Uncle Rico comes in holding his groin. He's like, I know.
I could have told you that.
Yeah. And then he's like walking in the dollar store. He's like limping. There's so much to chew on, and we didn't even talk about the ramps. That's sick jumps off that.
One of my favorites.
We've all tried to do that, and as a guy, we've probably all had the same result.
I've never tried to do that. I can say
we've had the same result as not as Pedro, but as Napoleon. Is those ramps don't always quite work as great as we think they will, right, Nick?
But I busted out laughing seeing that again, and I've seen it a bunch of times. That's what I love about this movie. It's like it's like watching it for the first time because the laughs are so genuine and it just happens so spontaneously. It's so quirky. It's so weird. I was reading about like they came up with this phrase, the Napoleon Dynamite effect or whatever they called it, when these movies are so bizarre. It's like they don't know how to market them because they don't know even how to sell it to an audience. So, I mean, it's just from beginning to end, like laugh out loud moments,
I think a movie like this would get lost today because of all the streaming. What's that?
There's an innocence to it all.
Absolutely.
Like even Napoleon doesn't curse. Yeah. Like he says, Kip hasn't done flipping anything all day. Yeah. Like, why do I have to go feed Tina? Or
that's a piece of crap.
That's how Dean mentioned it earlier. It's like there's moments when you think it's going to go down this weird, serious, quick, creepy way, you know, and
Yeah.
it doesn't. It stays innocent. It stays fun. Nowadays, it's like you have movies that are trying to be like unpredictable, and it usually
Yeah.
goes for like the shock laughs or
Mhm.
this was innocent. You know,
Well,
it's still funny and hilarious, and pushing the
usually they're trying to
boundaries.
subvert
But
your expectations. So we'll do
yeah.
this, and then we'll have a 360-degree turn in the middle of the film, and it becomes a gore fest. You know,
well,
Yeah.
This had those weird signals to it, but you still just didn't. You have to trust that Jared Hess was going to take you through. That they were just going to kind of keep you in this universe and kind of kind of carry you through the rest of the story.
I wonder if the fact that they're Mormon had something to do with that level of innocence, because it's a different lifestyle, not one that we're accustomed to. So that might have played into to what we find as quirky or however the words we're using to describe it. Maybe it was.
We might have been self-aware enough to realize that people that this is like somewhat normal, but to the outer, people would find this very strange or very funny, Sean.
Yeah, and I don't think it's disrespectful to small town culture. I think it's a slice of life there, and yes, it's very different. But these people are not. I mean, with the exception of Uncle Rico, they're not unhappy with who they are 100%. I mean, Napoleon wants. He's somewhat comfortable in his own skin, somewhat not. But I don't like. You pull for every one of these characters. They're probably going to be in the same place 10 years from now. Like probably not much, not much more than they are at present. They'll graduate. Will they ever leave the town? Probably not.
I
And
hope
will
they
that
never
be
make that
okay?
sequel.
Right.
Kip.
yeah.
Well, you know what? Kip had the biggest arc, though. I mean, he went from
He had the
he went total
transformation.
gangster at the end. I mean, he had the bling. Peace out.
do-rag.
Totally totally changed his life for LaFonda. Like she, and it was weird. It was that was probably the most shocking thing is that all of a sudden like it's like, oh, we're gonna go get some prime ribs again with the steaks. Like it's got to be like the meat belt of the United States because everything revolved around steaks and meat and beef, except for at the end with the fish when Napoleon, I caught this fish for you. I caught this bass.
It's
This
delicious
bass for you.
for you.
Yeah, I don't know what else we could say about it. It's just
We haven't talked about the music.
Oh, man.
The soundtrack to the
I
film.
love the soundtrack to this movie, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
music
starts
is
off with the White Stripes. I mean, how are you going to
really
go
well.
wrong?
Yeah.
done
Right.
And
very well.
even just the score, it's that little Casio like beep beep. It's like is something from the 80s
which is
that you had.
in the 80s, right? It's firmly in the 80s, so it's their house is in the
any
70s.
movie that has Alphaville's Forever Young, and it's not ironic. It's just it was
Well, it's
fun.
funny when it comes
It
to the
fit.
dance
It worked.
scene. They were, they had a couple of different songs that they were kind of circling around for the dance scene, and Jamiroquai was like I think was the first one they wanted, but they had some backups, and then they finally were able to secure Jamiroquai. And at the time, they were really pretty popular still. And Jared Hess, jokingly said it took about half the budget
Yeah.
just to
that's
get
what
the
he said.
rights to that song. Like it's like you got White Stripes, you got Forever Young, you've got just Time
When in
After
Rome.
Time. So you've got like they're dancing to Time After Time. But there's a lot. There's so much there to chew on. And Deb is kind of like the sees the quirks in Napoleon and accepts it. Doesn't try and accepts him for who he is.
Well, she likes him.
And I like that. There's those tender moments like when they're reaching for the wig, and they both kind of reach for it, and he pulls his hand away, and it's innocent stuff and it's meet cute stuff, but it works with this because the characters are that way. The characters are pure and innocent, So it's not a hard sell for it. Where if these characters were street smart and they did that, it would be like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird,
No, even the way Deb's dressed with her hair to the side is very 80s. In
the
2004,
pink.
you
Yeah.
weren't wearing the bracelets that she has, but her and Napoleon, like they're totally into each other. I mean, it's throughout the movie, like, and it's almost like they're 12, even though they're seniors in high school, but it's
because Napoleon has a reaction when Pedro says that he has Deb
not happy
to the
about it.
dance. He's like, you did? No one's gonna go with me now, type of thing, like there was a little bit of a hint of
And
that
he
jealousy.
questions them if they're going together, and she's like, "No, we're just
Yeah.
friends." And he's happy
Yeah.
about that when they're dancing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Pedro. I like to read that Pedro knows, and that's why he's like, when he realizes that Trish has left, he's like, you can dance with it's like I give you permission to dance with.
Yeah, like you could dance with her a couple of times. You could you have a few dances with her.
Yeah, it's very antiquated, but I agree with you, Nick. I think Pedro knows that
I think it was
Napoleon
in
likes her.
innocence. Yeah, innocence and friendship, not in boyfriend girlfriend thing. It's like, yeah, you can dance with her too. It's like that's okay.
I think he saw the connection.
I think he saw the chemistry. Yeah.
And I think Pedro has the confidence. He's like, I'll ask somebody else, and eventually I'll find somebody. But Napoleon
Those are his
probably won't.
skills. Yeah. He's got the lady skills.
Pedro went right for Summer. He went right to the
Makes
top.
a cake.
Right to the top.
He got a big fat note.
And then she writes the note. No.
He would have had little hearts on it, though.
Hearts on it.
Pedro
was
with
so
hearts
wrong.
on. I'm like, yeah, it was like, wow, she really just stuck it in him.
Yeah, but
Like, no.
there was a certain age where if there was a
back to Don.
period, it had to be done in hearts and
Everything was in
exclamation
heart.
points.
Every response
Notes.
was in.
I used
had
to
little
love getting
exclamation
notes,
point
man.
hearts.
Oh, notes were the best. You got to know.
Never know what know what's gonna be inside the note, though.
Love the note.
There is an absolute lovely sense of well-played nostalgia for and it's not cheap. It's not done, like just thrown at you. The movie speaks to the whole timelessness of it. So, of course, we're all going to feel that because, Dean and I, we could identify with a lot of things in the film, and even some stuff that carries over into the 90s. And then, of course, my kids, they relate to it. And even now, there's stuff that's just there, and it's just so well written in that sense. It's the feel of the thing. It's just, I just feel like it, when you watch it, you get it's warm. You get a really you have just a big smile throughout, and at the end of it, you're just happy. It's just it's just that kind of movie. So
which begs the question: why didn't any of these actors? John Hader did Blades of Glory, and you would have thought John Hader would have blown up, and John how do you pronounce his last name? Grice, like fries.
I
mean, now everyone knows who he is because of White Lotus. To be honest, I knew him as Laszlo from Real Genius in this film, but White Lotus, he's just blown up because he's in that both of those both seasons of that. But nothing really happened for these people, and I don't know if you guys know this, but 5 of them are reuniting for an animated. Has nothing to do with Napoleon Dynamite. For an animated cartoon coming out. It's like CYKO. I wrote it down. It's Napoleon, Pedro, Uncle Rico, Summer, and I think Kip. What is it called? It's called CYKO. It's Deb, Rico, Pedro, Summer, and Napoleon are reuniting for this, which is bizarre because it's not even as directed by by Jared. It's just completely.
I don't know if maybe he was typecast. I mean, he's just so identifiable now as up Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know if he has.
He's still working. He's just not doing big stuff.
Yeah,
I think he's doing a lot of voiceover.
Voiceover.
I've seen set, I would have thought he would have blown up. To be honest,
that's why I think
very good.
Maybe he just didn't. If I was his agent, I would have been like, you got to do something so different from Napoleon Dynamite to prove that you have range. I just think people still see him as Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, it's such an iconic
which
silhouette
means
that he cuts in that character, that it's very easy to believe. It's easy to believe that that's him too.
And I think eventually
so realistic.
They're going to want to do a sequel. I've heard
they've
been
trying
about it because I think that was like their bread and butter, but I think it would just destroy it.
I don't want to see that.
John Heder has said as early as this year, he says, I'm still up for it. But it would have to. He goes, and he said, would want to see Napoleon go a little darker, and not a rehash of the same thing, not a rehash of the same stuff. I'm not sure we need that, no matter what it is. I think this is a movie that you just
would make a mistake. That's where they would make a mistake.
You leave it alone, and you just kind of, they go around. They do a lot of screenings of Napoleon Dynamite where John Heder and Ephraim kind of show up together, and they talk about the film and stuff like that. That's great, but I don't think we need to see the dark turns of life that happen to these characters.
No,
I don't want to
gotta-
see. You
it
know,
would lose its heart, I think.
Everybody seems to want that, right? Actors are in everything today is taking that turn. Like, oh, it's just so fun to play. You know, like life. You get older and you want to see that, and we want to play that kind of thing. I don't know. There's certain things you just leave well enough alone.
You kind of want them to be the same. You want it to be like he still has that kind of innocence. And
but I wouldn't want to see a 50-year-old guy like that, like with that awkward. Like that awkwardness works because part of it's immaturity when you're young. Part of it's the high school experience. Part of it is the awkwardness of meeting somebody that you like. There's a lot of things that play into the overall kind of scene setting of this film. If you bring it 50 years into the future, Deb's an alcoholic and he's closed off. He doesn't talk. Like what are you going to do? Like how are you going to make it darker and make it accessible? Yeah. And make it accessible or make it, without it getting weird or like paying lip service to the film.
They're the family in Back to the Future.
There you go.
They're Marty McFly's parents.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Could be them.
Yeah.
But I think they should leave well enough alone. This is a film.
I 100% agree. So if they're watching this, or
don't do it.
We all agree. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Do it if you want to, but doesn't mean we're gonna.
I mean, it'll be paycheck,
streaming on Netflix. A Hulu original is what it's going to be.
Only if you make it for $400,000, 2023.
Will they still pay John Hader $1,000 because that's what he got made off that movie?
Yeah.
And that's the point I was making earlier is a film like this, because Nick was saying there's that syndrome of how do you market a film like this. Had this exact film been made today, it probably would have gotten lost in the shuffle just because of all the different ways of streaming and distribution. Certain people would have seen it and most people wouldn't have, or if you don't have this or that, so it benefited from the era of 2004 where film and the theater was still the place to go, where it got that word of mouth of, you got to see this weird small film. Nowadays it's going to be like, oh, did you see Napoleon Dynamite? What's it on? Peacock? I don't have Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or what's it on? Netflix? I don't have Netflix. So the business has changed so much that this really kind of might be the last cult film from a theater that outside of Cocaine Bear, which is out now.
And it's unlike Cocaine Bear, which like kind of built up because of the trailer and things like that. This was legit word of mouth, like in terms of I remember hearing people just saying quotes from the movie, and I'm like, hearing that first before I even saw clips from the movie, and that's what made me want to go and see what they were talking about.
Everyone was wearing the Vote for Pedro
Vote
t-shirt.
for Pedro shirts. Yeah.
Man, that was a
Those
big
were
thing.
everywhere.
Yeah.
We should have gotten them.
Everyone started perming. Every guy started perming their hair.
No,
that was the Brady Bunch, I think.
I got confused, Sean. You know what it was? It was the paneling. It threw me off.
Exactly.
Shag carpet.
Same paneling. All right, let's go around. I mean, like I said, I don't know if there's scenes, but if there's any favorite quotes, let's spill them out. Christy, what do you got?
I have to think.
Or scenes.
Think about quotes. I mean, scenes. I think everyone loves the dance scene. It's a great scene.
Great scene.
The time machine where Napoleon tries it. Because you have those three main characters. I just like everything that happens in that entire scene from start. Like when Napoleon walks in, he's like, "What's that?" When Uncle Rico's like holding his side, he's like, "I could have told you that." Like that entire scene. I'd have to think about lines. There's a lot, but come back to me.
Okay, Nick.
The Liger scene is my favorite. I had no idea Ligers even existed until this movie. So apparently they're real.
That and the Loch Ness Monster.
So I thought that was great. And just the way he delivers it, it's like, it's just my favorite animal in the whole wide world, the liger, half lion, half tiger. And then he throws in the magical.
Known for its magical powers, or known for its,
Yeah, it's just great.
It's all Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, that's what he lives in that world of spells and protective spells and casting and all that kind of stuff. Sean?
For me, it's the bike jump scene because I laughed out loud. That's the one I laughed out loud. I still do, and I did that as a kid. Except I got really legitimate height when I made those ramps. But we'd go too far, too high, land like Napoleon did, and it's yeah.
It wasn't the takeoff; it was the landing.
It was the landing sometimes that you didn't stick, and that's when it was really painful. But
and he
that was
barely got like a few inches off.
It's like
He's
you got like
"That's
3
good
feet
height."
of air. It's like not even close.
Yeah. Of course. Well, of course, everything's exaggerated. Everything is more spectacular than it is in his world.
And my favorite line is, "Why don't you go eat a decrepit piece of crap?" That's my. I think that's a great.
To Uncle Rico.
Yeah, exactly.
Christy.
I have my favorite line. And when I was watching it, I said, this is the best line ever. When he goes up to Deb in the cafeteria and he's like, I see you're drinking 1% milk. Is that because you think you're fat?
Yeah.
Because you could be drinking whole milk.
What a pickup line.
It's a great line.
His heart
She's
is so
just
in
look-
the
she's
right
just eating her
place
sandwich,
there.
Just like looking at him,
Yeah,
like,
he's-
okay.
That's his way
Totally
of
be
saying
drinking
you're
whole milk.
thin. Why are you drinking 1% milk? But
He's
it's
so offensive and
Yes.
and genuine at the
Innocent-
same time.
Innocent
Yeah.
at the same
Sweetness.
time.
Yeah. Wow.
And
That's
it's
brilliant.
funny, that scene would come
That's a
back
great
to
scene.
haunt him because then Deb would call him. It's like, oh, now I know how you really feel about me. Like when she got the breast enhancement brochure, it's like, why don't you eat them yourself? Eric?
Oh, what about what about when she shows him the glamour shot? She goes, do you want to look like this? He goes, this is a girl.
But his hair could look like that.
Yeah,
Probably
pretty
for me,
close.
I think it occurred to me, what came to mind, and we didn't really mention it, was the scene where Pedro is telling him that he shaved his head.
Mm.
That whole scene where he's like, he was, I was really hot, and I had to, and I did, and it just kept going, and it just, just something, and the point is that Napoleon's there for all of that, right? He's confiding in him, and it's just the friendship is so real. Even though it's like he doesn't have much of an emotional reaction to it. He's just like, but it's just so, I love that. And they never, like, even the whole thing with Deb, like we were talking about, like, he never gets angry at Pedro, right? He's never like, and that's just so great. So I love that. And of course I love the dance. But Christy, that was a line. I actually watched a clip on YouTube today and I was like, I love that. I was gonna bring that up, but thank you for pointing that. That's
What,
such
the
a brilliant.
1%?
Yeah, the
1%?
1%. Yeah.
I like towards the beginning, and they're talking. I think maybe talking about feeding Tina, and Kip is like, "Oh, I'm online, and besides, I'm training to be a cage fighter." He's like, come on, come on and hit me. Come on and hit me. So he comes down and they kind of do whatever, and then the doorbell rings. And Napoleon's like, I'll get it. And then he slaps him right in the head.
Love it.
He slaps Kip right in the head.
Oh.
And then the Rex Kwon-Do.
Oh, there we go. I'm happy you brought it up. Yes.
Yeah, and you have to watch it. You have to watch it actually, because John Heater in the reflection, when Kip does his like leg sweep, like when he tries to like do a spinning leg sweep, John Heater starts laughing. You have to look in the mirror at the dojo.
I got to get that now.
He starts to lose it a little bit during that scene because it is just so, he's like, Rex is like, grab my arm. No, grab my other arm. And he's using, and Kip's using my other arm. and then Kip just felt like, or you want to be like this guy, like dressed like Peter Pan, and he's like pointing at Napoleon. Like, you made you feel so bad for them, but
Yeah.
And then Napoleon's pulling him home, and Kip is like, that's such a ripoff.
What about those just pulling him home on rollerblades on his
he's
bike?
like, can you pull me into town on the rollerblades?
I think the physical life that they created for their character is amazing. Like just like the always looking to the side. Napoleon, even Kip does it too.
Yeah.
Like when he does, but before he does his roundhouse kick, he kind of looks off to this. They both have that like little quirk about them. I just think they're physical, and the running. I love the running off with Napoleon.
Yeah, they kind of like lean forward and run away like that. All the characters, even the bully runs that way after Pedro's relatives come up when he's assaulting the kid with the bike. He does the same type of like hands by the side and run away.
And even Summer's dance with her girlfriends, like it's so like phone it in, kind of like everybody thinks this is so great. It's really not. It's like the best you can get from like, these are the most talented girls. It's like and most popular. It's just and they perfectly sell that like.
Yeah, they thought they had it in the bag. That's why they had it in the bag. It's like
He phoned it
no
in.
one else is.
Exactly.
And Summer was just so bad too. Like, who wants to eat chimichangas all the time?
Oh,
It's like, what
yeah.
the
I was
fuck?
like,
like,
Yeah,
and like I said,
And
the
the principal's
principal,
like, yeah, that's a good point. Like,
yeah, and the racist principal's like, we don't do that, and maybe in Juarez you do this kind of stuff, and and Pedro's like, and it was big, like that one of those scenes. He's like, I don't understand why this was such a problem. Like, in where I'm from, we do that, and so there was that intolerance. And then when the principal's like, and now Pedro Sanchez, and he looks so put upon, he looks so pissed off that he had to introduce Pedro. Like when he was coming out to like make his speech, I'm like,
and he's like, I don't understand what's so difficult about this. The cafeteria. He's like, do you speak English? It's like he does.
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
the principal's first day, he doesn't know the building.
The guy had 3 scenes, and we knew everything we needed to know about that principal. How horrible, how awful he was. He had 3 lines and 3 scenes, and he was just awful, right, Nick?
Yeah, and that's it, because it's like they take everything so seriously. No matter, even if they're not that, like Deb with the photography, Napoleon with the dancing and the drawing, and it's like they put their heart into it, and it's so much better, because they're enthusiastic about it, like in the sense of they think it's the best, and that's what counts, So I just, it's a great message, it's just that's why it's so endearing.
So Nick, are you saying the principal threw himself into his racism?
He did. He threw himself right into it.
They all threw themselves into everything.
Even down to Deb picking out the wig. She's like, Pedro, this matches your season.
Yeah.
Like this, and Napoleon's like, yeah, you look like it's like a warrior.
When she has Uncle Rico taking the photo, and she's like, now imagine little sea lions around you.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I did feel good, Deb. Thanks.
I love it.
That was really relaxing.
Well, how about the grandmother too? Like going off and when she's just going off and riding driving a dune buggy at somewhere.
There's a lot you don't know about your grandmother. She was out on a date.
She was also a genius.
Yeah,
and all she wanted to
Ray Donovan too.
And all she wanted Donovan for a long time.
All she wanted for them to do is to do their own thing and to get out of the house and grow up and she's trying to teach him that, and I guess in her own way, but it's just I'm out of here. I'm not going to do my own thing. You guys, whatever.
Make a quesadilla.
So why was there a need to bring in Uncle Rico?
That's what they said.
We don't need you, because the grandmother didn't. She obviously wasn't that concerned. So why did he have to show up?
He probably saw an opportunity to get a place to stay for a while. Free meals, like he could grift. Free meals and kind of work his little things that he has going on, his little scams or whatever it is. So,
do you know the woman at the end?
Let's go around. Favorite character, Eric.
My favorite character. Oh goodness.
Yeah, who'd you really like? Who'd you connect with? Who did you connect with?
Probably, a lot of Napoleon. I think a lot of his inner, introverted self. Just being, even the way he like looks down all the time and just doesn't want to, he never looks anybody in the eye hardly when he talks. But he has things come out of his mouth that are very intelligent and very, but yeah, it's, I can relate to that, especially back then, So, but I also love Deb. I think she's sweet. Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
Sean, Uncle Rico, are you an Uncle Rico guy?
No. I of course Napoleon. I think I like Rex Kwon Do. I think that's just funny.
How did I know you were going to say that for some reason, Sean? I don't know why.
Bodybuilder wife.
Yeah, go home every night to Starla.
Yeah. Starla was a man, right? That was not a woman.
No, it was a lady.
Yeah.
That's from the bodybuilder, Starla.
I don't know.
Starla was a man.
No,
I think Starla was a man.
She's a
All right, well,
bodybuilder.
I'm googling.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, Starla, if you're the woman. No, I just like, and it's funny like that. Like we've all been called up somewhere, and someone's like, "Do this." No, the other one, and you're like, you're on the spot.
No,
I love that.
Carmen Brady is Starla.
Oh, sorry, Carmen Brady. I feel terrible.
Oops.
Yeah, she's a female.
Wow.
She's a bodybuilder.
Wow.
Oh.
She'll rip you in half.
I apologize.
Oh, really?
Right, because you saw what happened to Uncle Rico. He put those pots and pans over her chest, and
And
Rex
that was
Kwon-do walked in, and then Rico's in the sling the next time.
Yeah.
He's got the sling on his arm.
Sean,
I
Nick, who do you like? Who's one of your favorite characters?
I love them all, but I like Uncle
Yeah.
Rico. I think that's a great
Yeah.
character from beginning to end, and he's got an arc. He's got levels of emotions, and but I like Pedro. I like Deb. I mean, they're all great, but Uncle Rico I think is hilarious.
I'm going to go with Uncle Rico because he's kind of a tragic figure. His heart's in the right place. He just doesn't always go about things the right way, and like that scene with the steak, it really was well acted when he's like, if they would just put me in, you want to bet I could throw a football? Like you could really see
in his
that
eyes,
like,
you could see the pain.
You could really see that, and I'd be living it up and I'd have the hot tub and I'd find my soulmate. He's not looking for everything, and his acting in that scene just really sells it. Like he doesn't camp it up. It's like he really feels that way. If they'd put me in, if I had just gotten that, if I had just gotten the chance to show what I can do. And I think everything after that, has kind of been Uncle Rico's life is just live, because you see, all he does is film himself throwing the football. That's all he does is film himself throwing the football. And like that one thing kind of like, and that's all he wants to do is go back to 1982 so he can get that shot.
And I think I like to picture that scene when he tried the time machine because they don't show it. They just show and that's what makes the laugh because you only see it. But I bet you he stayed on for as long as possible. Hoping it would work. He's like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, he was holding his groin even in the dollar store when he was walking around. He was like still limping. He still had the after effects. Christy, what favorite character before we move on? Starla?
Well, if you're asking who to relate to, I don't relate to any of them. I would have to.
Who'd you like? Who'd you enjoy watching the most?
Kind of like Nick. Like I loved all of them. I think the acting with Napoleon. I don't think LaFonda should go unnoticed here. She did. Again, it was just in a lot of just. She smiles at Napoleon because she sees him when they're getting on the bus to leave.
Yeah,
and it's just like she really
gives
quick.
Like a quick wave.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed her performance, but it's hard to. I was really impressed with all of their creative decisions, but especially with Napoleon, I think, and Kip. Like just these, and like Sean pointed out before, they each like do this little side thing, like, and so they had to have collaborated and said, because siblings can have some similar tics. It's just inherited, through DNA. So I don't know. I like that they didn't go for the easy laugh because they set up when Uncle Rico and Kip are talking and Uncle Rico's like, oh, how's the LaFonda? How's she doing? And Kip is like, oh, I'm so TO'd. Like she won't send me like a full body pic. They're setting this up that this person's going to be like the worst looking person. Like they're setting it up like online chat room is going to be the worst. And LaFonda comes out and she's gorgeous and she's beautiful and she's vivacious and she's fun loving and she's in love with Kip. Like she is absolutely head over heels for Kip. And her brother is
mortified. And I like that they talk about Nick about subverting. I like that they subverted that. They could have went with the person like, oh my God, chat room person, and he loves her. And I like that like that was his dream. He's like, and Kip was like, I found my soulmate. Like I found her, and that's what Rico was looking for, and then,
that's why he cries
at the end, Rico's on the outskirts of town again with the sling, throwing the ball, and then this woman comes down on the bicycle and kind of pulls in and stops and kind of talks to him. But at that point, if you notice, Rico's not wearing any of the 70s clothes anymore.
I didn't notice. Yeah, check that out again.
He's wearing like a white button-up shirt, like a regular person. Like the vest and everything is like hanging on the line. I don't know if that means anything. That once he had kind of left that in the past, that he can move forward. Because he's not wearing that. He's wearing like just a white button-up shirt, like he was in a, like at a party or whatever.
That's Kip's real life wife that rides the bike up. Yeah.
Isn't it implied though that's his ex-girlfriend that he talks about?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was his ex.
No, I didn't.
I thought there was some connection with them, and she was coming back or something. Or
I thought it was just some random girl.
Film?
No, it's the girl that he broke up with. Why she's there.
I thought it was some random. I thought it was some random girl.
I thought there was some connection that I missed. I couldn't get it. But I thought they knew each other.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense to what Dean just said, because if he left 1982, which she was jealous of, she came back because he's now in the present time.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
And then once just to tie things up was once the film got popular, they did grab everybody and they filmed a post-credit scene,
which I haven't seen yet.
You didn't
Yes,
see,
you
you
have.
didn't stay for the post-credit scene, Sean? Did you?
Yes,
It's the wedding.
Yeah,
I-
with the horse.
I could
You
have
never
done
saw
without
that?
it. To be honest with you,
It was good
It's
only for
strange.
Kip's song. Always,
I know.
always and forever.
I love technology.
I was like when I watched it, I'm like, I
that
think there's something
Lyle
else.
is the preacher. He's like, if you have a fight, go out and take a walk
Now I
and
gotta
get some
watch it.
exercise.
I
and
didn't
then
know
when
there
you
was a
come
come back,
post-credit scene.
You'll feel better, and you can. And then, do you have any other questions for me? Like he said,
and that's why the brother, LaFonta's brother, is like this the whole time.
yeah, he's
when-
like he's like he can't believe it.
he's like,
He's
I
like keeps shaking his
married
head
this
that this
guy.
is happening.
And that scene cost almost half of what the movie cost to reshoot it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
I read that
hilarious.
scene was.
Yeah,
If
it's
the
great.
movie cost
And then Kip
400 grand,
sings "Always and Forever."
it doesn't
You
need
know.
it,
have to-
but
It doesn't need it. It's a nice little addendum and it closes it out, and then you're done. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
They
But the
literally
opening
ride off
credits,
into the
I'm
sunset.
glad they did that because that's a great one of the best
Yes.
opening
Named this
credits.
wild
scenes.
stallion for you.
Yeah.
except I hate
Yeah, with all the
ketchup.
foods.
And
Really?
yeah,
I don't
no,
like
I
ketchup,
don't like ketchup.
either. Ketchup's unnecessary.
Well, Eric will be delighted to find out that you don't like to eat cereal with milk.
That is true, Eric. I do
It is
not
true.
eat
I know
cereal.
that
with
about
milk.
you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
I don't
So
put
yeah,
milk in
see,
cereal because I
imagine, see
can't
what
have
we're
milk.
revealing.
Very quirky.
So I think that's going to do it. I think that'll do it for Napoleon Dynamite. If you haven't seen this, currently it's on HBO Max, but you can probably rent it here and there. Or if
Your
you want to
local
be like
Blockbuster.
Eric, get that digital copy. I mean, get that hard copy, not digital copy. Get the actual copy, DVD. It's
Eric
still
has
available,
the
probably on Blu-ray.
Physical.
Eric
as
has
well,
the
right?
Criterion edition of Napoleon Dynamite.
Criterion
I
edition
wish
of
they
Napoleon
would come
Dynamite.
out with it. It should
Comes with a
definitely
stick of
deserves to
dynamite.
be in the collection. Yeah, no doubt.
It comes with a tuft of
Llama
the
hair.
hair from the llama. Tina, you get some of Tina's fur.
Oh.
Anyway, let's see. Nick, City of Kick blog. We will drop a link in the show notes to that. Please check out Nick, not Lick, but Nick.
Lick.
He blogs there
That's
quite
his
often
other
about
site.
entertainment, drama from the past. That is Mr. Sean Grady. In-person Revolutionary War era one-act plays, which is really great stuff. This is your season now, right? Spring, summer is when you guys really kind of hit the road.
Yep. Got some gigs coming up.
Good. And I
check
know
out
I'll
our
be.
yes, I'm
Yes, I'm
sites,
gonna
our socials
go,
have it all.
Yes, this will have happened already, but I want to go to the one this coming Saturday. So
Cool.
I usually just surprise them and show up, but this time I gave them a warning.
And then
All right.
and then Nick, and then Sean almost shoots you.
Now I
With
give
his
him a hug.
musket.
I give Dean a hug.
He says, "Where's Christy? I need to load my musket."
Hey,
So Christy,
never.
Christy, thank you very much for joining us as always.
Thank
And
you.
of course, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's
Thank
it.
you,
It's me
guys.
and Eric.
Always a
It's
great
Eric and I.
conversation.
That's what it is. This is
Thank
what
you,
it
Eric.
is.
Yep.
This is how it goes. So for Christy, for Sean, for Nick, and for Eric, of course, this has been Dean asking you to please be kind and rewind.